financing for buyers that actually have high risk and are able to put a larger percentage down on their homes. So they're able to now have banks giving affordable housing for, again, very low income families.
I think that's fantastic if they can find a cure for that. Up here, we have extra houses, just in case anybody out there, out of America is looking at us. You know, there was a funny little article I read one time that if you were to allow 25 million immigrants in this country, and the prerequisite is that they need to buy a house. So if they come in, 25 million people, they'll buy 25 million cars, 25 million houses, 25 million bedroom sets and living room sets and all of a sudden the economy will be great. So maybe immigration is a way to solve some of the problems that we have of recession here in this country.
Well, speaking about immigration, we know that when Asians, particularly Koreans and Indians and even Chinese, come to this country, we know that they bring their customs, they bring their child-rearing practices, they bring their food. But what a recent study done by Colombian researchers showed, and actually looking at U.S. Census data, was that they also bring their preferences for having male children. Now, this is very interesting because what they found is that in these particular Asian immigrant families, if the first child happened to be a girl, then they're more likely the second child was to be a boy. And if the first two happened to be girls, then they were more likely to have a third that was a male. Now, what they also think, and this is according to demographers, is that the statistical deviation is significant among Asian immigrants versus other immigrants, and that it's not just a preference for male children, but there's also a growing tendency to embrace other practices like sex selection, in vitro fertilization, and even sperm sorting to, again, make sure that they have more male children. Now, according to previous studies on sex selection, some of which were done in New York City, they also found that couples that were born from Asian immigrant families really had a strong preference for boys, predominantly because of cultural and social reasons. And in fact, a lot of the pressure was from the husband's family saying that they needed to have a male child. So it's certainly a very interesting issue in terms of Asian immigrants, particularly Chinese, Korean, and Indian, really having an interest and certainly a very strong preference to have a male child.
I met a couple last weekend, and I saw that they have 4 children, you know, and the ages were like 17, 14, 5, and 1. And I said, what happened here? You know, I mean, you have such an age difference. Right. And he said, I wanted to have a girl. First 3 are boys, and the 4th one is girls. So, congratulations. That's good to have that kind of feeling that I want to have both sexes kids, you know.
Now, what the study also showed is that as families stay in the country longer and there's more assimilation, then there's more preference to actually have female children. But certainly immigrants that are coming and are newer immigrants to this company tend to retain some of the preferences from their old, perhaps, cultural practices. And again, for many countries, it's that the males are the ones that bring in the income, are the ones that continue the family name. And so there's a real preference, again, to have a male child. But it's wonderful to hear that there are families now that are preferring and will try to have girl or female children.
I think females are just as strong and as powerful, and they make just as much money as men do. And in the coming century, they will do more because more of them go to school today than boys do. So let's see where it goes.
I agree.
Folks, there's a slump in Bollywood, too. They're saying that it is called a Bollywood bubble. Last year, at this point, they had produced 100 movies. Today, they have only produced 22 movies. They can't seem to find the money. Used to be that every year there were 1,000 movies made in India. Many of them were between 2 million and 7 million. For instance, Kuch Na Kaho was made under 2 million. Chandni Chowk to China took 7 million to make. But now the money is scarce. So everybody's saying, I want to pay less to the actors. I want to pay less to the editors. So the money is coming down in way of remuneration to some of these people. The amount of dollars have sort of dried up in that arena.
That's really interesting because you would think, particularly when times are bad, that people would actually go to the movie theaters as a way of escapism. So I'm surprised that the money's dried up and that people are actually not demanding more movies.
Indians still watch more movies, buy more DVDs, so the business is good. what hurt probably the most was that there was a strike by these cinema houses. But folks, I want to tell you, the big actors carry the movie. It's not the Slumdog Millionaire every time. Slumdog may be a 1 out of a 10,000 movies that'll take that kind of credit. But generally, it is the heavy actors, the Amir Khan, the Amitabh Bachchan, and the Shah Rukh Khans and the others that actually bring more dollars and more rupees for the movie.
Does that mean we're going to see more of the Bollywood actors going to other countries to do filming because they're not able to get work in Bollywood?
They are, they're actually here in Hollywood too. But did you know they go a lot to Australia for their shooting? Which
is a difficult place to go to right now for some real issues in terms of discrimination.
That's right. The Indian students up there have been beaten up. And it is sort of, everybody's calling it a racist country and racist folks. And Amitabh Bachchan has come out on his web. He was being honored by one of the universities there by getting a degree, making a speech, and he refused. He says, because my countrymen are being mistreated up there.
It's interesting, but this issue has now gone virtual, and in fact, there are a lot of Facebook platforms that are also jumping into this and actually really talking a lot about the discrimination and the issues that have occurred as a result of the students being beat in Australia. And there's been a lot of online discussion about what's happening in Australia.
But on a positive note, I want to talk to you about Kapil Sibal, who's a new education minister in India. He's talking about joining hands with the foreign universities to come here in India and start educating the young people. India has 1.1 billion population. Only 9% of the kids that are eligible to go to college in India. And
now, is that because they just can't afford to go? Is that the main reason?
They cannot afford to go, and there are not enough seats. China has more colleges than India has. Even some of the other Asian countries that are around India send more kids. So Kapil Sibal realizes that, and he says, I will help all of you foreign universities to come here and open your school, but I want to make sure that you don't charge too high a fee, because I want the poor kids to get the same education. Now, it's a very good goal, and I hope he's able to do it. In the meantime, I must say that the taxation problem, up here, the universities don't pay any taxes, but down in India, they're still looking, any company that comes in, hey, how about some taxes up here? So that particular legislation, he has promised he will make it go through the parliament, and hopefully they will have a legislation that will encourage some of these universities to come.
So you're saying that